Hola, ¿cómo están, my compañeros? I was researching a few interesting topics and I came across some interesting information. I was researching the subject before you, and I happened to come across a pretty neat website that has a compilation of some older articles and older publications. It said a few things about Adrenochrome that I was very surprised about. This is information that is dating from 1918, and it's as follows. The characteristic transient yellow-green fluorescence exhibited by adrenaline solutions that were undergoing oxidation in the presence of alkali was first reported in 1918. This phenomenon was later shown to be general and similar, but usually weaker. Fluorescence were observed when other catecholamines were oxidized in an alkaline solution. Many years were to elapse before the correct explanation of this phenomenon was forthcoming, i.e., that the fluorescent product of this phenomenon derived from the adrenaline was a rearrangement product of adrenochrome, the red oxidation product of adrenaline. For me, I hear that say adrenochrome has a fluorescence to it. Adrenochrome has a glow to it. I know it might be outlandish, but it would be something that would give it a little bit more prominence, you know, like, ooh, check it out, you know, it'd be hard to resist. The book that I just read that from is actually called The Aminochromes, and it highlights aminochromes as aminochromes are the deep red to violet colored compounds obtained on oxidation of catecholamines. These compounds have attracted considerable attention in recent years from research workers in the pharmacological, physiological, and medical fields. And then catecholamines, if you can see this entire page all the way to the top, all the way to the very bottom, catecholamines include, among catecholamines are epinephrine, norepinephrine, and dopamine. Then at the very bottom it says various stimulant drugs such as a number of substituted amphetamines are catecholamines. That is to say that inside of our body, these catecholamines are naturally produced. They're naturally produced, and when they are collected from a biological specimen, these catecholamines, when they're collected from a biological specimen and they are processed in a certain way, as they are processed in that certain way, they are, oh, there it is. If we can just go to the middle of the paragraph, second paragraph. The rearrangement of all aminochromes is, however, markedly catalyzed by alkali. The rearrangement of all aminochromes is, however, markedly catalyzed by alkali. That's to say that when they get the catecholamines together, they add an alkali solution, and and once they do, the structure of the fluorescence alkaline rearrangement product of adrenochrome was not ascertained until 30 years after the characteristic fluorescent reaction had been first reported, and the substance, i.e. adrenolutin, which is 5,6-dihydroxy-N-methylendoxy, which is the good stuff, often formulated as 3,5,6-trihydroxy-N-methylindole, was finally isolated in crystalline form in 1947. That's a crystalline product that's derived from the processing of catecholamines. Subsequently, N-ethyl 5,6-dihydroxy-Indoxyl and 5,6-hydroxy-N-isopropyl-Lindoxyl have been isolated in crystalline form from the alkaline rearrangement product of N-ethyl and N-isopropyl neuroadrenochrome, respectively. Both of these substances exhibit an intense yellow-green fluorescence similar to that of adrenolutin in ultraviolet light. Then it also has a different byproduct. The red color of the adrenochrome methyl ether solution is rapidly discharged on additional on addition of alkali, with the formation of a dirty brown, essentially non-fluorescent solution. I'm considering that that might be the byproduct. I'm not quite sure, so please let me know. There's also this information in this description. Euler is describing the paper in chromatography in the paper Chromatography of Adrenaline states that after the chromatograms, which are these little strips of paper, have been dried, adrenaline spots show an apple green fluorescence. It goes on to say a possible explanation of this observation would be the air oxidation of the spot to adrenochrome, followed by the isomerization in adrenolutin on the little piece of paper that he's drawing. He dropped the substance into another substance, and he's seeing how it's reacting, and in the air the adrenaline is drawing and it's reacting with the oxygen, and it's turning to adrenochrome because it's been reacted with the ethyl. Therefore, it would appear that a thin film of adrenochrome on paper will spontaneously rearrange into adrenolutin. This type of behavior has also been observed in Austin and Chanley and Sobota with the related compound Aminochrome, which even in this crystalline form undergoes a slow, spontaneous rearrangement to 5,6-hydroxy and methylidol. I'm pretty sure that's what they're after. That's what they're after. They're after this 5,6-hydroxyindole. Let me go on to say, my assertion now is just that adrenochrome might have a fluorescent glow, and that fluorescent glow might be part of its appeal. Let me read this last description, and then I'm going to go on to show you a band of musicians who have a song called Fluorescent Adolescent, and it is a very suspect song. Fluorescent Adolescent. It's at the end. Please feel free to click forward. Introduction. The vast majority of the chemical methods in widespread use for the assay of catecholamines involve, after extraction of the catecholamines from a biological system in question, after extraction of the catecholamines from the biological system in question. So it's saying everything after you've collected the catecholamines from the subject in whatever way you've done that, their oxidization to aminochromes, which can then be determined directly by colorimetry or after conversion into suitable derivatives by fluorimetry. In general, colorimetrics techniques based simply on aminochrome formation are not sufficiently sensitive for accurate determination of adrenaline and noradrenaline in bodily fluids and tissues, except in the case of certain pathological conditions. They're saying that if you naturally allow for its color to come out, it's not going to give you a sensitive enough reaction to discern between adrenaline and noradrenaline. So it's saying that the formation of a suitable fluorescent derivative usually involves either the alkaline rearrangement of aminochromes to so-called lutins, i.e. 5,6-hydroxyindole derivatives. Lutins is saying the formation of suitable fluorescent derivatives usually involves either the alkaline rearrangement of the aminochromes into so-called lutins, which is 5,6-hydroxyindoxyl, and lutins happen to be, lutins is a word for leprechaun, for pixie, for fairy, for lutins is a word for devil. Lutins is a word for a deviant spirit, and they're calling these fluorescent derivatives lutins. It just seems like it would be very appealing, you know. If somebody were to show you something that was fluorescent, you would say, oh my goodness, what is that? Alright, so let's go on to the song. It's by Arctic Monkeys, and it is called Fluorescent Adolescent. And I know symbolism is their downfall, and I know if this stuff fluoresces, that's something that they speak about. I'm going to show you the video, and also there is a comment that has the lyrics, which are disconcerting to say the least.
You used to get it in your fishnet? mess. Now you only get it in your night dress. Discarded all the naughty nights for niceness. Landed in a very common crisis. Everything's in order in a black hole. Nothing seems to pity is the past though. That Bloody Mary's like an El Tabasco. Remember when you used to be a rascal? Oh, the boys are slag. The best you ever had, the best you ever had is just a memory. And those dreams, but as daft as they seem, as daft as they seem, my love, when you dream them all. Flicking through a little book of sex tips. Remember when the bars were all electric? Now when she told she's gonna get it, I'm guessing that she'd rather just forget it. Clinging to not getting sentimental. Said she wasn't going but she went still. Like a gentleman not to be gentle. Was it a mechadabra or a betting pencil? Oh, the boys are slag. The best you ever had, the best you ever had is just a memory. And those dreams, but as daft as they seem, as daft as they seem, my love, when you dream them overflow. Where did you go? Where did you go? Where did you go? Falling about, you took a left off last life lane. Just sounding it out, but you're not coming back again. Falling about, you took a left off last life lane. You were just sounding it out, but you're not coming back again. You used to get it in your business, now you only get it in your night dress. Discarded all the noise and niceness. Land in a very common crisis. Everything's in order in a black hole. Is everything's free in the past low? That Bloody Mary's like an El Tabasco. Now when you used to be a rascal.
Well, those are the things that I've discovered.